Welcome to the Team of One podcast, where we share the story of the solopreneur by exploring different ideas from different voices so you too can find a way to live life on your own terms. My name is Mo Choice, and I hope you enjoy this next episode. Peace. Welcome back to the Team of One podcast. I'm Mo Choice, and today we're joined by Caleb Stapp. Caleb, who are you?
You know, Mo, I'm still working to figure that out, but I do a little bit of financial advising. I'm a dad, husband, a couple of different things going on there. And as I mentioned before, in the past, I've been a politician and a pastor, so still figuring some of those things out, but hopefully I'm a human being who's getting better at being a human being every day.
I think that's the best thing to aim for. Do you identify as a solopreneur?
I do, yes. I don't use that word often because I'm not in circles where that word would make sense out here in rural Eastern Washington. But solopreneur is absolutely what I am. I usually phrase it as a solo advisor or solo financial advisor because while I have people on my team, none of them are direct employees, and so therefore I don't have to boss them around. I just get to manage the total product of what we do. So it's a lot more free.
So is that how? So why wouldn't you call yourself a solopreneur? And if someone said to you, "How do you define what you are?" How would you do that?
Oh, sure. So I just wouldn't call myself a solopreneur simply because of the context where most of the people around me aren't used to hearing that word. I would just use a different word so that they would understand it better. But in any other context like this one, absolutely, yes.
So you're talking about your clients wouldn't understand it, or?
Yeah, my clients are mostly older. We're in a pretty rural area, and so the idea of saying I'm a solopreneur, they would not understand the word.
Well, I'm curious.
Yeah,
I'm curious about why you would need to say anything to them other than I'm a financial planner. Like, why would you say solo operator or consultant? Why would you choose to identify as any of that?
Sure. Well, it's simply because of my intention is to connect with them personally, and I think it highlights that they really get me. They're not getting a junior advisor after meeting me and feeling all fluffy about me. I'm not just handing them off. They're getting me. And so I just emphasize that that's what they're getting is me. And if they like that, that's great. And if they don't, that's fine. And we move on.
I've been doing this thing for a while now where if someone says, "What do you do?" I say I help people make money on LinkedIn. I don't put a label on what I do. I just say I help. So your headline on LinkedIn says helping business owners maximize wealth.
Yeah.
So if I were in your shoes, or if I did what you did, I would say, you know how people are trying to increase their wealth and save on their taxes? I help them do that.
Sure.
Right?
And sometimes I do. Yeah.
That would send the audience.
Absolutely. No? It would. And sometimes I do say that, but in the past, I don't know if I've ever said it enough to get really comfortable with it. I've tried out a number of different things. I help people live abundantly. Sometimes it's way too vague, right?
Oh, way too vague. Way too vague.
Yeah. I use financial planning to help people save money on taxes. That one comes out of my mouth fairly.
Yeah, I think that's easy. Yeah. I think even without the financial planning, I show people how to increase their wealth by saving taxes. The reason, in part, I'm bringing this up is because we're not going to talk about that, but now everybody knows what you do. So you're welcome.
Well, I appreciate that. No, that's great. I was kind of wondering, actually, myself. I was like, I thought we were going to talk about like stories and journeys and things that are really fun.
Well, if you think about it, how you present yourself is a really important part of the story. Because it's like, I'm curious about why you would say, a lot of people, it's like, it's just words and it's just semantics. Like, what do you mean? Like, you're picking those words to try and tell a story or get a message across or influence or persuade. And you have a abundance of words and different combinations of those words that you could use. So I'm always curious about why people use words and how they present themselves. That's part of what I do, I suppose. Yeah.
I think that's part of, I'm just tailoring it to my audience. And so now you're asking me for the big picture. And so I'm giving you all the different sets of words that sometimes I use.
It's not
And
good
maybe
enough.
that's
It's not good
naive.
enough, Caleb. No,
No, it's not sometimes. But for a while, I've tried to not leave people wondering too much about whether I'm a financial advisor or not, because sometimes I've noticed that if people get through a lot of conversation before they realize that, they somehow think I tricked them into being friendly.
really.
Because yes, it's like they're like, oh, financial advisor, and there's a bit of hesitance there sometimes. So I like to state that up front so it's very clear. Hey, this is what I do, but then I can still be friendly and talk with them and help them realize that no, I really do care about hearing their story and what's going on in their lives, because I love connecting. So
if you say I'm a financial planner or advisor, that's better or not better?
It's better to state it sooner rather than later.
Really?
At least in my personal experience.
Yeah,
That may be very different.
This is super interesting because often I find that there is discrimination with titles. Oh, he's a financial advisor. That must mean he does X, Y, Z.
Yes.
Or, oh, he's a, you know what I mean?
Yes.
You
but
don't
I would
find-
rather, oh no, I do find that, but I would rather say that first and then overcome it.
See, this is why I don't even know what my title is. To be
right.
You can call me a coach or a consultant or a mentor or an advisor. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I do all of that really, and I think part of how you introduced yourself as a human being actually, and the different hats you play. I think financial planning is a doing, not a role.
Correct. Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
It's like how do we do it? How I want to understand them and connect with them and understand their story and what do they want. And that's a lot more than just financial planning or being a financial planner.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I love it. I think this is all super interesting. Why did you decide to become one in the first place?
I was really poor.
Really?
Oh yes, yeah. No, I was a pastor. I'd come out of college, was a worship and youth pastor at a small church up here in Eastern Washington. And
well, let's start there. Okay, I'm going to interrupt you. Let's start there. Why did you start there then?
Oh, sure. Well, that's what I thought God wanted me to do with my life.
Really? So you felt that was the calling?
That was the calling. And there's still absolutely a calling. I have a little rock on my desk here that is very, very important to me for some reasons I can't get into in public. But this rock says shepherd on it because at the core of my calling, whether I'm doing it through music or preaching or financial planning, I feel like a really key word of my calling is shepherd. And yet, if I introduce myself using that word, people would be very confused. Yeah, I'm a shepherd.
What does it mean? What does it mean, shepherd, in layman's terms?
It means to care for and lead groups. It can be a group of one. It can be a group of 100, but it's to care for and lead groups.
How can a group be one?
Because people are a multiplicity in and to themselves. Because there are different there's different parts of them inside of them.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, yeah.
Sure. No, this is why words matter.
Right.
Because you would say group, and I would make the assumption that that's got to be more than one person, maybe even more than two. And then you're saying, actually, I'm looking at that differently. That's what makes things super interesting for me.
Well, because leadership, we have to lead ourselves first, right? So there's always leadership of one. Then there's leadership usually of the couple, partnership, family, and then there's leadership of a company, firm, foundation, team, whatever that looks like. And then maybe there's
community,
public
nation.
leadership.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, it just can get bigger from there. Right. I think I've met the leader of the universe, but other people disagree.
There's different parts of us. There's the spiritual self, the physical self, the mental self, the emotional self, social self. So I like that. I think that's super cool. So you became a pastor, and then you asked for a break, or what?
Actually, yes. Very similar to that. So it was towards the end of that kind of the first 10 years of my career.
Right.
And we had 3 kids with number 4 on the way. And we were still making about $30,000 a year. We did not own a home. There was no path to owning a home. We were not in debt. My wife is extremely thrifty, and my parents taught us to just hate debt. And so we hadn't dug a hole, but we were certainly not getting traction to go anywhere. We were very stuck. And I had looked for other churches to serve it. I had been looking for 3 years actually for other churches to serve it, and God kept closing the door, and it kept not working and not making sense. And then somebody said to me, very close to me, they said, Caleb, pastors and teachers often make good financial advisors because the people side is the same. There's some education, there's some coaching, there's leadership, and you just use a different language of finances. And I told them, no, that sounds terrible. Because still in my head was the stockbroker image of, the smile and dial, sell somebody a stock, even though this guy had been my financial advisor for 10 years. And he'd never done that. But that was still what was in my head, which is crazy, right? Because we're talking about titles and what people think they mean.
Right.
And that was when, that was another instance where I would say God kind of smacked me upside the head with a 2x4 and said, just be humble. Just like try, just listen to the man, go try. And so I started down that path with an application to a big firm, and I kept wanting to say no. I didn't want to do it. It was a 4 or 5 month application process, very intense. And finally, by the last couple of weeks, I wanted to say yes. But the whole rest of the time, I was just going through the motions because I thought I was supposed to be humble and give this thing a shot.
Oh, so the intention wasn't to become a financial advisor?
I didn't want to be. No, I was just doing what I thought I had to do to make somebody happy and make God happy.
Oh, that's a good lesson in and of itself, huh?
Yes. Because boy, did it make me happy too. But anyway,
So that's interesting, because normally people would say don't try and make other people happy because then you'll end up miserable. But actually the thing that you didn't think you wanted to do ended up becoming a pathway forward.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I would give the credit to God, because it wasn't me. Yeah. And the credit to, hey, this financial advisor knew me really well, and he had a really good understanding of his job, obviously, and just thought, hey, this is going to work. Because I didn't realize how entrepreneurial I was, because in a church setting, most pastors are either entrepreneurs or managers. And the ones who are entrepreneurs often get in trouble when people would rather them just be managers. And but I was given some freedom to be more entrepreneurial, and I didn't know how unusual that was. And I didn't know how much I was not good at just managing something and keeping the same things happening. I'm really bad at that. I'm really good at the entrepreneur. Yes.
Yeah. Right,
absolutely. And so that shift to get to self-create what this role means and what this looks like, because financial advising can go a million ways. I don't have to be like anybody else. I can just be, a little snowflake me, all unique and beautiful, and still get to do something impactful.
See, this is for me a contradiction to you saying I introduce myself as a financial advisor. Everything about you is I would predict you would never introduce yourself as a role, even the way you introduce yourself today.
Yep. But that's why I did. Because I want to. I can't do. I've tried so many times to introduce myself as I help people save money on taxes. I help retirees never run out of money. And those things just, they just always kind of irk me, because I feel like down the road, then people say, they minimize it to say, oh, he's just a financial advisor. I would rather start small with low expectations and then magnificently exceed those expectations, rather than start with this kind of strange ethereal thing and then
I would love to test that. I have a couple of financial advisor clients, and we do it exactly the opposite. We go big, straight.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Okay, so pastor was your
Yep.
calling, and then you
Yep.
found another calling, and
Yes.
then that led you
Yeah.
down this path. So you went and worked for a big firm,
Yep.
who
Yeah.
I'm
4 years
assuming.
at a big firm, following their path, their training, getting paid their salary. That was wonderful.
Mhm.
Our income doubled overnight. That was such a
Wow.
shock. We thought we were the richest people in town, making $58,000 a year. But I tell you, there's a lot of freedom there. We bought a house within a year. With some help from some family, and that was 2020, right? So that was really good timing.
Lockdown.
If we hadn't, yeah, if we hadn't had it happen then, I don't know if we would be. I mean, I guess we'd be in one now, but it would have been a lot harder.
So
Right?
hold on, how long were you a pastor
Yeah,
for?
10 years,
And then 4 years in this firm,
correct.
and then what happened to get you
And
here?
then, yeah, so March of 2024, that firm, not due to any client things, but something personal in my life, said, "Thank you very much for being here. See you later."
What?
And yes, yep, they said, "Thanks so much. You've been hitting all your performance metrics, but that's not going to matter. We're going to see you later." And I said, "Okay, well, I've been thinking about doing this independent thing. I guess I am." And
Another
it's been a
act of God?
glorious ride. Yes, absolutely. Because also over this last year and a half, he's helped work some things out in my soul that were big problems, big problems for me. And so that's been, it's given me the space. It's given me time to really control my own schedule. It's given me the ability to be home a lot more because I had an office then. It was 30 minutes away, so I was driving a lot each day. And so just the time and space change has been magnificent. And then again, I was again surprised at a new level of entrepreneurial opportunity and really loving that. Because with the big firm, there was some entrepreneurial opportunity, but it had significant safety nets and guardrails and different things. And now those are not there. And I tell you, the ride is really fun most of the time. And so it makes
You
it
said
good.
30, the office was 30 minutes away by car?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you call that a long
Yeah.
drive, and you're from Texas?
Well, I grew up in Texas, but I started driving only 1 year before I moved. So yeah.
30 minutes
Yeah.
is not a long time if you're from Texas.
Correct. If I had driven there for 10 or 20 years, that would have probably been stamped on my brain. But, I'll tell you a funny story about that. So the Texas, they let you, as a kid, get a driver's license by paying $10 and getting a book, and then your parents teaching you, which they did. I mean, they do, and then they drive with you or whatever.
Yeah.
We moved up to Washington after I got my Texas driver's license. Washington says, no, that's not good enough. You have to pay our $400 or $500 to one of our approved providers. And so I would drive myself to and from driver's ed because my license was still good for 6 months in the transition. And so all the other kids would be waiting on their parents to pick them up and things. And I would just be cruising onto the road. So that was a part where it felt ridiculous in some ways, but also felt kind of fun to get to just drive away. So
that's pretty cool. Okay. So you got let go last year.
Yeah. Last March. And then
straight into solo?
Yeah. Straight into solo.
Was there a part of you that said, I need to look for another job?
There was, and I explored with a couple of different firms, but I had lived in the pretty tight sandbox of this other firm. I had lived with these guardrails. I had lived with these constrictions, not being able to create new ideas, not being able to create new resources for my clients, having to only use their branded stuff, which wasn't great. I wanted to have creative control. I wanted to be able to say, no, this is what my brand is. This is who I am. And that was really important to me. I'd been thinking about going independent for about 3 years. I'd started listening to this podcast of financial advisors, and the way they thought about business and the way they did business was very different than the big firm I was a part of. But I loved it. So I had been trying to implement some of what they did in my
I
practice, and it was
see.
the square peg into the round
Yeah,
hole. And
yeah.
so, yeah,
And there's a responsibility to represent the people that pay the paycheck.
yeah, yeah. And there's just that, there just is not the freedom to go out and do what you want to do. I mean, I still follow the SEC guidelines and all the actual
You have to,
laws.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But I don't have to follow the fences within the laws that
yeah,
try to
right.
keep you a mile away from the law, right?
Right.
I can actually just follow the law, which is plenty safe, and
So,
enjoy life.
well, so there's a downside to that though.
Hmm.
No security.
Oh, yeah. No, that's fun though.
So
It's very stressful. It's very stressful.
Let's talk about the stress, and then we'll talk about the fun.
Sure. So
Let's
the
talk about
first 6 months, I didn't pay myself at all, and they were very stressful.
how did you live?
We had government assistance. That was really helpful. And then we had savings. And then we had, no, that was it. Yeah, because the sign-on bonus that I got for the broker dealer that I partnered with, that paid for business. So there was 10 grand to pay for the business startup.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you had some means by which to navigate being on your own.
Yes.
And then,
So there was 10,000 for the business to start up, but I didn't pull any of that money to actually pay for living
because
expenses.
you have to be careful.
But
How was the wife when you said to your wife, "I've been let go. I'm gonna go solo"? What was her initial reaction?
Oh, it was devastating because, again, these were not the ideal circumstances for this transition, and this was not an ideal time in our family. And yet God has used that moment in tremendous ways. But still, the initial bomb going off, say, was challenging. That was painful, right? It's hard. I'd never been let go from any position before, and so I didn't know what that was like. I've since talked to people who are like, "Oh yeah, I've been let go from this or that," and I'm just astonished that they're still alive. I don't know how you can go through that.
That's how. And how long did it take you to get over that?
In what way? Just emotionally?
Well, you're saying it's devastating. When did the devastation stop?
I think it was one of the times it stopped was this summer when I took my family on a trip. The big firm that I worked for before did these really awesome family trips, and my kids loved them. And this summer, I took my family on our own trip, and we did our own thing. And we spent 2 weeks in Florida and 1 week in DC, and it was great.
So you're like working.
So that was one. That was one.
So you're working your way through it still.
I wouldn't say now, but that was about a year in. So that was. I think it was about a year it took me to really work through all that. Yeah. Because about 6 months in is when we hit profitability and I started paying myself, and the financial pressure eased significantly. And then it was a matter of, okay, the things that I can provide for my family and the ways that I think about myself and being successful and identity and all those things, that took another 6 months. At least, and there may be still aspects that are still happening. I don't know, but I think the 2 big points were 6 months and then 12 months.
Well, it sounded like it because you were saying, I still talk to people who were let go several times, and I don't know how they're still alive. That's why I asked the question. That's quite a
because it was present tense. Yeah.
So it felt like there was something still there. I mean, I lost I lost everything I built in 2015, and it's like a part of me's dead, and I can't get that back. Yeah. The same as loss. I lost my best friend. I lost like those parts of me are dead, and they're never going to come back. There's no overcoming that. There's just getting used to, you lose an arm, you get used to living without the arm. It's you know what I mean?
That's more like what being a pastor feels like.
Really?
Oh yes, that was much more brutal on the sense of identity. to wonder if God had rejected me, right? If I
And because you
wasn't good
felt,
enough.
and because you
And I
believed it
felt
was your calling. Yeah.
correct.
Which, I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't, my calling, I still don't probably know what my calling is. It's to talk a
Yeah.
lot to people and tell them how shit they are and how to improve, I suppose.
Yeah. It
But
works
I
out.
really, but I find this fascinating how people say, this is what I wanted to do. This is what I was born to
Mm,
do. I think that's
mm,
amazing because I have no
mm,
idea what that's
mm,
like, to be honest with you.
mm.
So yeah, I think
Well,
that's
and
super.
that's where I still wouldn't even put a title on that, but I know I was designed to connect with people. I know that. I know I was designed
Purpose. That's the purpose
to
talk, right?
yes,
How do I
yeah.
show up in the
Yes.
world rather than what I'm doing?
Yeah. That connecting people, helping lead people,
Yeah,
inspiring people to change, to make an impact. Those
yeah.
things are, I do that wherever I show up, no matter what role
Mine
I'm
is pissing people off, telling them how bad they are.
in.
But
You're just
I do that to myself too. So it's there's
hey, you're equal opportunity employer. There you go.
no discrimination. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are, I'm gonna call you this and that. Okay, so you mentioned, or you I'm making an assumption
Sure.
that you've had the turning point, but that's too simple
Mm,
because
mm,
there is no turning point because we're
mm,
constantly exploring the unknown.
mm,
And we do, even in a job, I would imagine it's the same. It's like
mm.
you just get let go one day.
Yeah.
But as a solopreneur, it's like, it feels different, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
There's that constant opportunity to iterate. And sometimes I have to slow that down so that I keep that core and not just go off in all directions, right? I've got to keep a core of, hey, what do I do? How do I help people? What does that mean to me? What does that mean to be a part of that? And I've got to keep that core focus. So that's where I just go back to talking about helping neighbors, living abundantly, those different key phrases that rattle around in my head and come out in different ways. But that's how I help stay focused on some of that.
well, I think we spoke offline before we started the podcast
Mm-hmm.
about. I was saying to you, I used to think I'm the type of person that gets bored and needs to be creative and do other things.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized it's just a strategy. It's not who I am. And I didn't realize that was similar to you. And I think one of the things that helped me is I get my fix outside of work now. So I get I want to do different things by traveling, exploring, meeting different people, doing different things and then the work is working. And if it's working, I'm just going to do more of that, even though it's boring. I'm going to do more of that. And I'll do the entrepreneurial stuff out of work, which sounds,
Interesting.
yeah, it sounds like, how can you do the entrepreneurial? It's like, because I need to be an operator in work now because I built it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I do. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm just seeing how that might show up in my
You've got
life
music.
as
Well, this is
well.
the segue was going to be to me.
Yeah.
So your profile picture on LinkedIn is you singing a microphone.
Right. Yeah.
That's the chaotic creative element that connects you with something bigger than the task-based operation. No?
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. But it also, I don't like doing music by myself. I mean, I can for a few minutes or something. If I'm with an audience, that works. Or if I'm with a group, again, it comes back to connecting to people, right? I want to move people. I want to cause something to happen in their hearts. And if it's not, then I'm just bored. Like, why would I want to do this thing?
Yeah, well, I think music and food are two connected activities. They're not for you alone. I don't even if I cook well, I don't like eating alone. You know what I mean? I prefer not to eat, to be honest with you, but unfortunately we can't do it. Okay, so let's say a turning point has been achieved where you can now see that you can make a living as a solopreneur and you can do this thing on your own. What's the next level? What's okay, now that I'm here, I need to get there. What's that?
Sure. Well, like you mentioned, that you have a different focus each year. My focus this year has been on right-sizing my service model to my practice. So there were a bunch of clients I was over serving and getting underpaid by. And then there were some clients that I was either serving the right amount or possibly underserving, but getting paid well by. And so I've flipped that. That was this year. Next year, it's about nailing down the automations and the workflows to make everything run really smoothly, particularly from that first conversation onboarding a client to they're on board and they're so extremely happy that they're referring their 3 best friends, right? And then the strangers at the YMCA as well. Like that's next. That's the workflow to go from stranger to professional friend. A lot of my clients become actual friends as well, but if nothing else, I at least want to be their professional friend who asks the right kind of questions and really cares. And so that's what's next, is to help go from that never heard of me before to professional friend that makes a difference in their life. Because I want to do that more. I want to do that for people. It's life-giving.
How do you find the stranger?
Right. So that's where I'm working with my marketing person to say, how do we develop some resources like Washington State Educators Guide so that teachers can find me, right? So that they're looking up stuff online, that sort of thing. So some of that's marketing to find the stranger, but then it's also, how do I help the referral feel like getting to know me is a treat and not a chore?
Positioning, so, I call that positioning.
Sure. Yeah, that works. So that's this next year. That's the next big leap, is to really nail that down so that I'm not looking for explosive growth at all, but I'm looking for steady growth.
What is explosive? 1 or 2. What's explosive growth?
Oh, I'm not trying to scale and become the manager of 14 junior advisors over the next 5 years.
You want to stay solo.
I want to stay solo. It's working really well for me. It's working really well for my family. Like, it's working well for my clients. I've got teams I can call on for higher level, more in-depth stuff. That's great. Let's keep it that way.
How do you know when the growth is enough? What has to be true for you to know?
Sure,
I've got enough now.
You mean ultimately, or you mean month by month?
However you want to answer it.
Right now, I've got targets, and that's just like 1 new client a month. It's very low, but they've got to be the right person. So I have to talk to more people than that to get to the right one person. Because I'm at about 80 clients right now, and I'm at 100. There will be some changes because I'm not going. The right ones. Yeah. I'm not going above 100.
So if you hit 100. Yeah. And they're the right ones, that's it? It's just maintaining those relationships?
That is going to be a question to figure out for a different day because I don't know. That's my 5 or 10 year plan.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. I don't think we should occupy space in our head about things that we're not clear on, because you have to get to the first step before or the second step before.
Yeah, once I'm at 95, I'll really get concerned about that question.
Well, you'll also know more because you're closer to where you want to be.
Correct.
So you'll see more, you'll know more.
Correct. And hopefully I'll be smarter by then.
We should
hoping
to be smarter, right? And then what's the biggest danger you're facing as you go into 2026 from in terms of being a solopreneur?
Not delegating well. Right. So I've got an assistant, I've got teammates. I mean, it's still me in my office, but contractors doing these different things and helping in different ways, and not delegating well is going to be a challenge. Trying to aim for perfection instead of, hey, this is really good. This works well. Sometimes I do exactly what you post about on LinkedIn, and I fiddle with the things behind the scenes instead of getting out there and making a difference. And I want to make sure I'm focused on making a difference. I don't want to be stuck playing Office for the next 5 years and wake up in 2030 and be like, oh, wow, that was a lot of opportunity that just passed me by. No, I want to make sure that I stay focused. That's really the challenge for me.
Thank you for going through all of that. I mean, we started with a kind of a holistic
Mm,
introduction, which I think is spot on. And you said you
mm.
were still figuring out who you are, and I think that's a really good answer. And we talked about how to connect through words and why it's important,
Mm,
how you position
mm,
yourself again to others, and what works and what doesn't work. And I think it's interesting that I have a different perspective to you on that. And
mm,
then we talked about how you got here. You followed your calling. There was this kind of break away from your calling that must have been
mhm,
really difficult.
mm.
And you went through it only because you thought you had to, and then it ended
Yeah,
up becoming a really good pathway for you and your family, and you
yeah.
learned the skill and you became competent in an important aspect of life and something that you
Mhm.
never had before, which was the wealth to build your home and look
Yes.
out for your family. You managed to get that in the big firm,
Yeah,
certificates and paychecks galore.
yeah. Yes.
Bought your house.
Mm,
And then I mean, there is something energetic about, because it must have been 21 when you started thinking about what if I could do this on my own, 2021,
correct. Yes.
and then being
Yeah.
let go a few years later
Yep.
unexpectedly. But
Yeah.
it's like the seeds got planted somehow.
Oh, yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And then okay, you got this now. Okay, I can either look at this as we're in trouble and we have to find a
Yeah.
job, or I can
Yeah.
look at it as I've been thinking about this for 3 years. Maybe it's time to do it. And you had the space and
Yeah.
time, and you were
Yeah.
able to think about your
Yeah. Yeah.
entrepreneurial um, adventure and the
Mhm.
creative side of it and doing it a different way. And you'd been studying about that through listening to others, and you had some
Mhm.
ideas already. It wasn't like you were thrown off the boat and you didn't know what to do. Um,
Right. No, yeah, it made sense as a pivot that there
it,
was a
it,
lot of preparation there,
it's a
even
very
though there
common,
wasn't.
it's a very
Yeah.
common story, huh? Way more common
Yes.
than I thought, than I
Yeah.
appreciated at the beginning. And
Mm,
I suppose, I mean, maybe everybody thinks about doing things on their own. I don't know, because I've always thought
mm.
about, since the age of 3, I was like, I'm not going to work for anyone. Um, uh, Honestly, it
Yeah.
wasn't that I thought in those terms, but I was like, these adults, these big people don't know what they're doing, so I don't trust any of them. But you described that as devastation, which is quite a strong word.
Mm,
And you
mm.
talked about how it took you 6 months to kind of start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then another
Yeah.
6 months to come to terms with it, because you started seeing the
Yeah.
benefit of family time and
Yes.
having your profit come in and being able to pay yourself.
Yeah.
But there's still this conflict between being an operator and being a entrepreneur. And you talked
Yes.
about next level as an operator, workflows and systems and processes,
Yes.
while still
Yeah.
thinking about how to find new customers, while knowing that there's a danger of you losing focus for the
Yes.
task at hand, which is a very common thing too. So I think
Yeah.
that's a really lovely story of a solopreneur,
Mm,
particularly at the beginning of
mm,
his journey. Is there anything
mm.
that you want to say to complete that summary, or anything you want to
Hmm.
add?
I really appreciate that, and I have really enjoyed talking with you both today and then in the past, and I'm looking forward to that in the future. Um,
Me too.
I think I would just add that whatever the pivot is that somebody might be expecting or feeling right now, or they may be in next week when something unexpected happens in their life, I would just encourage them to have some hope, because the pivot, however devastating it is in that moment, can turn out for the best.
Agreed.
Because both times, 2019 and 2024, very hard transitions, and yet very fruitful, very good long-term transitions.
We are more resilient than we think,
Mm,
especially if we have a higher power that we are looking for guidance in, I think.
yeah.
And we can make any situation, maybe not any, in a normal environment, we can
Right.
make any
Right.
situation
Yeah.
work out for us, I think. And you're a testament to that, actually. I love that. Where can people find you, and do you want to people to get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I love connecting with people. LinkedIn is a great place to find me. I know you're very active there, and that's been great to communicate with you there. So LinkedIn, Caleb Stapp. It's a very easy username, pretty simple to find. There is one other Caleb Stapp out there. He's cool. He's not me, but he's great. So he'll redirect you if you find him first. But yeah, LinkedIn, find me on Caleb Stapp. There's a little button below my name that says get your free tax return review. Your listeners, I wanted to just do something special for them. So instead of the normal 15-minute call where I give somebody, some observations on their last year and some strategies for their next year, I wanted to do a 30-minute call, and besides reviewing their tax return, also give them a blueprint of their finances so that they can see where they are today and just gain some clarity. So anybody that's looking for clarity, anybody that's looking to save money on taxes, which I hope is everybody, there's just no point in paying extra. Yeah, I'd love to connect. Or people that just love to connect with people. Amazing. Man, I love those people. So amazing. I hope they reach out.
So what they do is they click on the link under your name, and yes, they tell you they found you through me, or how does that work?
Yes. Yep. I'll ask them in that, and we'll get them going, and we'll say, hey, this is what you need to do. They'll upload a tax return. They'll tell me their name and their birthday, and then we'll be off and running.
And it's Caleb Stapp. The URL is Caleb Stapp, so you have that over
Correct.
The other one.
I do. I got that first. He's a little younger than me, so.
And I'll put the link in. I'll put the link in the session notes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
With the Zoom call link and your LinkedIn link.
Perfect.
I appreciate your time and your generosity. And I was a little bit late for Caleb today, and he was very gracious, and he allowed me to be late. So we're really late now. I'm really sorry about that. But any final words before we say goodbye?
Just thank you. I mean, putting yourself out there, being willing to have these conversations and take your own time, that's a lovely gift, Mo. And just from somebody who has been deeply impacted by podcasts, like I mentioned, the whole reason I'm in the business now that I'm in and the way I do it is because of podcasts. Right. I would just want to say thank you, because your listeners will continue to have that kind of value from these conversations. So thanks for your hard work.
I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time. See you again soon.
Sounds good.
The difference between surviving and thriving often comes down to a single shift in perspective. Maybe today's conversation sparked something for you, or maybe it confirmed what you already knew. I'm going to keep exploring what it takes to reach the next level. For more solopreneur stories, hit subscribe. And if you know someone who'd be perfect for the team of one, please introduce us on LinkedIn. See you next time. Peace.